January 15th, 2026. 2 weeks ago, two events happened on the exact same day. In one room, a Nobel Peace Prize winner handed her medal to Donald Trump in a golden frame with an inscription comparing Trump to George Washington. And at the exact same time in Caracas, Venezuela, Trump's CIA director was sitting in a secret meeting with a woman the DEA has been investigating for drug trafficking since 2018. Because Trump wanted oil, $2.75 billion worth of Venezuelan oil. And he chose the woman with the DEA file over the Nobel Prize winner who spent 11 months hiding from a dictator. This is the story of the ultimate betrayal, and it happened 2 weeks ago. Look, what I'm about to show you isn't conspiracy theory. This is verified by the Associated Press, by CNN, by the Washington Post, all with name sources. Trump's own officials confirming it. The CIA director admitted the meeting. The DEA files exist. The oil deal is public. And the Nobel Prize winner, she's watching the man she gave her medal to choose corruption over democracy, because that's what $2.75 billion in oil buys you. A complete abandonment of principles, and your tax dollars are funding this entire operation. Let me start with what happened in the Oval Office. January 15th, Maria Corina Machado walks into the White House. This is a woman who spent 11 months in hiding, 11 months moving between safe houses in Venezuela, sleeping in different locations every few nights, because Nicolás Maduro's security forces were hunting her. Why were they hunting her? Because she won. In 2023, Venezuela held an opposition primary election. Machado ran. She won with 93% of the vote. 93%. That's not an election. That's a mandate. So what did Maduro do? His Supreme Court, controlled completely by him, barred her from holding office, banned her from the ballot, made it illegal for her to run for president. And Machado didn't give up. She kept organizing, kept mobilizing opposition, became the face of Venezuelan democracy, so dangerous to Maduro that she had to go underground, 11 months hiding in her own country. Then, October 2025, the Nobel Committee in Oslo makes an announcement. The 2025 Nobel Peace Prize goes to Maria Corina Machado. Quote, for her tireless work promoting democratic rights for the people of Venezuela and for her struggle to achieve a just and peaceful transition from dictatorship to democracy. End quote. Think about what that means. The Nobel Committee, the most prestigious award in the world for peace, singles out this one woman, says her fight for democracy deserves global recognition. Puts her in the same category as Nelson Mandela, Martin Luther King, the Dalai Lama. Machado can't even attend the ceremony. She's in hiding. So her daughter travels to Oslo in December 2025, accepts the medal on her mother's behalf, gives a speech about democracy, about hope. And Machado, from hiding, makes a statement. She wants to dedicate this prize to Donald Trump. Why? Because in early January 2026, U.S. Delta Force captured Nicolás Maduro. Actual military operation grabbed him. Actual military operation grabbed him from his compound, flew him to New York to face trial on drug trafficking charges. Machado believed Trump freed Venezuela, believed he was the liberator, believed democracy was finally coming. So January 15th, she flies from hiding to Washington. Secret trip, security everywhere. She walks into the Oval Office and she does something almost unprecedented. She gives Trump her Nobel Peace Prize medal, not a replica, the actual medal, in a golden frame with an inscription that reads, quote, presented as a personal symbol of gratitude on behalf of the Venezuelan people in recognition of President Trump's principled and decisive action to secure a free Venezuela, end quote. She makes a speech, compares this moment to 1826, when the Marc de Lafayette gave a medal to Simon Bolivar, says, this is a historic moment of mutual respect between liberators. Trump accepts it, posts on Truth Social about what a great honor it is, says, it's a wonderful gesture of mutual respect, keeps the medal. And here's what nobody knew in that moment. While Machado was handing over her Nobel Prize, Trump had already made his decision about Venezuela's future, and it didn't include her. Here's what the media didn't tell you. Trump has wanted a Nobel Prize for years. He's openly said he deserves one. Been nominated multiple times by supporters, never won. And here's a woman handing him her actual medal, the ultimate ego boost. But there was a problem. And that problem is why he rejected her before she even gave him the medal. Let me tell you what happened behind the scenes, because this is where the betrayal starts. October 10th, 2025. The Nobel Committee announces Machado won. That's the day the prize is announced publicly. According to the Washington Post, that was the last time Trump had meaningful contact with Machado. October 10th, 3 months before she gave him the medal. Why? Sources close to the White House told the Post that Machado committed what they called, quote, the ultimate sin in Trump's eyes, end quote. What was the sin? She accepted the Nobel Peace Prize. instead of turning it down and giving it to Trump. Think about how insane that is. The woman risked her life fighting a dictator, went into hiding for $11 months, won the world's most prestigious peace prize, and Trump was displeased that she didn't decline the award and give it to him instead. From October 10th to January 15th, no contact, no calls, no messages. The relationship was frozen. White House Press Secretary Caroline Leavitt confirmed this on January 15th. She said, quote, "President believes Machado currently lacks the support to lead Venezuela based on realities on the ground." End quote. Translation, Trump doesn't want her leading Venezuela. Days before Machado even arrived in Washington, Trump told reporters, quote, "I think it would be very tough for her to be the leader. She doesn't have the support or the respect within the country. She is a very nice woman, but she doesn't have the respect." End quote. Very nice woman, but not the leader we want. Meanwhile, something else was happening. The CIA was doing an assessment. According to CBS News, the CIA conducted an analysis of potential political leadership scenarios for Venezuela, modeled what happens if Maduro is removed. The conclusion? Maduro's own officials, the people who ran his dictatorship, would be better for, quote, short-term stability than democratic opposition leaders like Machado. Read that again. The CIA concluded that keeping Maduro's regime in place just without Maduro was better than actual democracy. This assessment was briefed to a limited number of senior officials, and it influenced Trump's decision. So by the time Machado walked into the Oval Office on January 15th, Trump had already decided she's not the leader. The regime officials are. Machado gave him her medal. Trump took it and gave her nothing in return. No commitment to elections, no timeline for democracy, no support for her leadership. Senator Chris Murphy was on Capitol Hill when Machado met with senators after the White House meeting. Reporter asked if she got any commitment from the administration on elections. Murphy's answer, quote, "No, I don't think she got any commitment from them." End quote. She gave her a Nobel Prize, got nothing, because Trump had already chosen someone else. And here's where this gets absolutely insane. The person Trump chose, the person the CIA director met with on the same day, Machado gave Trump her medal. The Associated Press just revealed she's been a DEA priority target since 2022. That means the Drug Enforcement Administration has an intelligence file on her for drug trafficking. Let me show you who Trump picked instead of the Nobel Prize winner. Her name is Delcy Rodríguez. She was Nicolás Maduro's vice president from 2018 to 2026. When U.S. forces captured Maduro on January 3rd, the Venezuelan National Assembly, completely controlled by Maduro's party, swore in Rodríguez as acting president. So Rodríguez went from being the number 2 in a narco dictatorship to running the entire country. And that's who Trump is working with now. But here's what the Associated Press reported. On January 17th, just 2 days after the CIA meeting, the DEA, the Drug Enforcement Administration, has had Rodríguez on their radar since at least 2018. The AP got access to DEA intelligence files, not public indictments, intelligence files, the kind the DEA uses to track suspects they're building cases against. Rodríguez was labeled a, quote, priority target in 2022. Priority target. That's not a casual designation. That's reserved for people the DEA believes have significant impact on the drug trade. According to the AP, there are nearly a dozen DEA investigations involving Rodríguez. Not one, not two, nearly a dozen active investigations. Field offices in Paraguay, Ecuador, Phoenix, and New York, all looking at Rodríguez. What are they investigating? Drug trafficking connections, gold smuggling networks, money laundering operations. Specifically, a confidential DEA informant reported in 2021 that Rodríguez was using hotels in EA Margarita, a Caribbean resort island, as fronts to launder money, using tourist hotels as money laundering operations. The DEA also documented her connections to Alex Saab. Saab is alleged to be Maduro's, quote, bagman, the guy who moves the regime's money. Saab was arrested in 2020, extradited to the U.S. in 2021, and convicted on money laundering charges in 2023. Rodríguez connected to Saab. Saab convicted. Rodríguez still under investigation. 3 former DEA agents confirmed to the AP that there was, quote, intense interest in Rodríguez throughout her time as vice president. One of them, Rob Zachariah, now a managing partner at a private intelligence firm, told the AP, quote, Venezuela is a failed state that supports terrorism, corruption, human rights abuses, and drug trafficking at the highest echelons. There is nothing political about this analysis. Delcy Rodríguez has been part of this criminal enterprise. End quote. Part of this criminal enterprise. And that's a former DEA agent on the record by name. Now, critically, Rodríguez has never been publicly charged with any crime. She's not among the dozen-plus Venezuelan officials who were indicted alongside Maduro on narco-terrorism charges. But The DEA has a file, an extensive file, nearly a dozen active investigations, priority target designation. And Trump knows this. The CIA knows this. The State Department knows this, which means Trump has leverage, massive leverage. After Maduro was captured, Trump threatened Rodriguez. He said, and I'm quoting, "She would pay a very big price, probably bigger than Maduro if she didn't fall in line," end quote. Probably bigger than Maduro. Maduro is facing life in prison on terrorism charges. Trump is saying Rodriguez would get worse if she doesn't cooperate. Translation, we have DEA files on you. We could indict you tomorrow, fall in line, or face the same fate as Maduro. David Smilda, a professor at Tane University and Venezuela expert, told reporters, quote, "Just being a leader in a highly corrupted regime for over a decade makes it logical that she is a priority target for investigation. She surely knows this, and it gives the U.S. government leverage over her. She may fear that if she does not do as the Trump administration demands, she could end up with an indictment like Maduro." End quote. So that's who Trump chose. A woman the DEA has investigated for years. A woman who was Maduro's vice president throughout his dictatorship. A woman who can be threatened with indictment if she doesn't cooperate. The same day Machado gave Trump her Nobel Prize, Trump's CIA director was in Caracas meeting with Rodriguez. I'm posting updates on this scandal to our WhatsApp channel. Economy Meet History. The DEA investigations are ongoing. New details are coming out. Trump's oil deal is developing. When major developments break, you'll know immediately before mainstream media spins it. Link in description right now. January 15th, 2026. Same day as the medal ceremony, CIA Director John Ratcliffe boards a plane to Caracas. Ratcliffe is Trump's CIA director, former congressman, former director of national intelligence in Trump's first term, loyal Trump ally. He flies to Venezuela with a small team of U.S. officials, lands in Caracas, goes directly to meet Delcy Rodríguez. The meeting lasts 2 hours. 2 hours. Afterward, the CIA releases a statement. Quote, "At President Trump's direction earlier today, Director Ratcliffe met with Venezuelan Vice President Delcy Rodríguez and discussed potential opportunities for economic collaboration and that Venezuela can no longer be a safe haven for America's adversaries, especially narcotic traffickers." End quote. Let me break that down. Economic collaboration, that's code for oil deals, narcotic traffickers. That's the Trend Aragua Gang, a Venezuelan criminal organization that operates in the U.S. But notice what the statement doesn't say. It doesn't mention elections, doesn't mention democracy, doesn't mention transitioning to civilian rule. It mentions economic collaboration and security cooperation. That's it. CNN reported that Ratcliffe's trip was, quote, an effort to build trust between the U.S. and Venezuela's new government. Build trust. With a government run by Maduro's former vice president, a woman the DEA is investigating. This was the highest-ranking U.S. official to visit Venezuela after Maduro's capture. The CIA director, not the Secretary of State, not a special envoy, the head of the Central Intelligence Agency. What does that tell you? This wasn't about democracy or human rights. This was about intelligence and deals. Former U.S. officials told CNN the meeting was significant because it showed Trump is willing to work directly with the Maduro regime apparatus, not bypass it, not replace it, work with it as long as they give Trump what he wants. And what Trump wants is oil and access to Venezuela's natural resources and cooperation on security issues. Rodriguez can provide all of that. Machado can't. Machado would have to hold elections, build democratic institutions, answer to the Venezuelan people. Rodriguez just has to answer to Trump. And she knows if she doesn't, there's a DEA indictment waiting. The timing of this meeting is everything. The same day Machado gives Trump her Nobel Prize, Ratcliffe is in Caracas cutting deals with Rodriguez. Machado thought she was celebrating liberation. Trump was already negotiating with the dictator's successor. And here's what should absolutely enrage you. The reason Trump chose Rodriguez over Machado comes down to one thing: oil. $2.75 billion worth of Venezuelan oil. And Rodriguez is giving Trump total access, while Machado would have demanded elections first, so democracy lost to oil. Let me show you the deal. Venezuela has oil, lots of it. Some estimates say it has the largest proven oil reserves in the world, bigger than Saudi Arabia. But for years, U.S. sanctions prevented American companies from accessing it. The U.S. wanted to pressure Maduro, starve his regime of oil revenue, force him out. Now Maduro is out, and Trump wants the oil. Secretary of State Marco Rubio said on January 6th that the U.S. will take, quote, between 30 and 50 million barrels of oil that Venezuela has already produced, and, quote, 30 to 50 million barrels. Venezuelan oil is currently trading at around $55 per barrel. Do the math. 30 million barrels times $55 equals 1.65 billion. 50 million barrels times $55 equals 2.75 billion. That's the deal. The U.S. takes up to $2.75 billion worth of Venezuelan oil. Where does this oil come from? Venezuela has about 48 million barrels sitting in Honore storage facilities, nearly full capacity. They also have between 15 and 22 million barrels sitting in seized oil tankers that were trying to smuggle Venezuelan oil despite sanctions and got caught. Total available, roughly 70 million barrels. Trump is taking up to 50 million, more than 2-3. What will the U.S. do with it? Sell it. Marco Rubio said the U.S. will, quote, sell it in the marketplace, end quote. Buyers will pay market price. The revenue goes to the U.S. government first. Energy Secretary Chris Wright said the money will eventually be used to, quote, stabilize Venezuela's economy, end quote. Eventually, first, it goes to the U.S. As for repaying U.S. oil companies that lost assets when Venezuela nationalized their operations, that's a, quote, longer-term issue, end quote. Translation, the U.S. government sells the oil, keeps the money, maybe uses some of it to help Venezuela later, maybe compensates companies later, but right now, the U.S. profits. Trump justified this by claiming Venezuela, quote, stole American oil when they nationalized in the 1970s. Here's the reality. Venezuela nationalized its oil industry in 1976. 20 foreign companies, including American companies, were paid about $1 billion in compensation. In 1977. That deal wasn't controversial at the time. Companies continued operating in Venezuela under contract. Then in 2007, Hugo Chavez, Maduro's predecessor, did a second nationalization, forced out foreign companies again. ExxonMobil sued, won $98 million in 2012, won another $1.6 billion in 2014. CocoPhillips sued, won $2 billion in 2018, won $8.7 billion in 2019. But the companies say they've only received a fraction of those awards. Venezuela never fully paid, so there are legitimate claims. But Trump isn't waiting for courts or negotiations. He's just taking the oil. And Rodriguez is letting him because she doesn't have a choice. If she resists, Trump threatens her with DEA indictment. If she cooperates, she stays in power and maybe avoids prosecution. So the deal is simple. Rodriguez gives Trump, quote, total access to vast oil reserves and other natural resources. That's Trump's demand, total access. In exchange, Rodriguez gets U.S. recognition, gets to stay in power, avoids indictment, at least for now. Machado wouldn't make that deal. She'd demand elections, transitional government, constitutional process. That takes time, creates uncertainty. Rodriguez makes the deal immediately. No elections needed, no democratic process. Just oil for recognition. $2.75 billion, that's what democracy cost. That's what principles cost. That's what a Nobel Peace Prize winner's 11 months in hiding cost. Oil. And here's the part that should make you sick. While Trump is cutting oil deals with a DEA target, ExxonMobil, the American oil company that actually has claims in Venezuela, said they're not interested in going back. The CEO said, quote, it would require pretty significant changes. Translation, we don't trust these people, but Trump does because he's not investing, he's just taking. Let me back up and show you how. We got here because the Maduro capture is the setup for everything. January 3rd, 2026, U.S. Delta Force conducts a covert military operation in Venezuela. They've been planning this for months. Military buildup in the Southern Caribbean starting in August 2025. Warships deployed, Delta Force rehearsals, a mock-up of Maduro's safe house built for training. The CIA had a source inside the Venezuelan government, someone with access to Maduro's movements. Maduro slept at multiple locations for security, never stayed in one place. The source tracked him. January 3rd. The source confirms Maduro is at the Fort Tuna compound. The fortress-like location, heavily guarded. Delta Force goes in, captures Maduro, blindfolds him, puts soundproof. Headphones on him. Gray Nike sweatwit flies him to the USS Iwima aircraft carrier, then to New York. Maduro is now in federal custody, facing charges of narrow terrorism conspiracy, cocaine importation conspiracy, and weapons charges. His wife, Celia Flores, also captured and charged. If convicted, Maduro faces life in prison. Trump announces the capture, says the U.S. will, quote, effectively run the country until there's a transition. The Venezuelan National Assembly, still controlled by Maduro's party, immediately swears in Delcy Rodríguez as acting president. January 5th, 2 days after Maduro's capture. So now you have a situation where the dictator is gone, but his entire government apparatus is still in place. Same military, same courts, same National Assembly, just a new person at the top. And that new person is Maduro's former vice president, who the DEA has been investigating for drug trafficking. Machado, from hiding, celebrates. Thinks democracy is finally coming. Thinks Trump liberated Venezuela. dedicates her Nobel Prize to him. But Trump has other plans. On January 14th, the day before the CIA meeting and the medal ceremony, Trump calls Rodriguez on the phone. According to Fox News, the call was, quote, positive. Positive. The U.S. president and Venezuela's new leader, a woman the DEA is investigating, have a positive phone call. The next day, CIA director in Caracas, Machado in the Oval Office. Same day. Trump's choice is clear. Let me make this personal. Why should you care about who runs Venezuela? First, oil prices. Venezuela potentially flooding the market with oil could lower global prices. That's good for your gas bill. But it also means Trump is willing to work with corrupt regimes to get cheap oil. What happens? When the next crisis comes and Trump needs something, does he sell out principles again? Second, immigration. Maduro's dictatorship caused millions of Venezuelans to flee. Refugee crisis. Many came to the U.S. If Rodriguez's government is just Maduro without Maduro, the refugee crisis continues. More people fleeing. More pressure on U.S. immigration system. Your community affected. Third, drug trafficking. The trendy Aru gang operates in the U.S. Violent crimes. Trafficking. If the Trump administration is cutting deals, 2058, with people the DEA investigates instead of prosecuting them, what message does that send? That cooperation on oil matters more than drug trafficking. Fourth, democratic credibility. The U.S. has spent decades saying we support democracy, saying we stand with people fighting dictators. And here's a woman who won a Nobel Prize for exactly that, and we chose the dictator's ally over her because of oil money. What does that tell the world? That American values are for sale. That oil beats democracy, that corruption works if you give the president what he wants. Fifth, your tax dollars, the Delta Force operation cost. Money, the ongoing military presence in the region costs money. The CIA operations cost money, all funded by your taxes, and the result is a DEA target running Venezuela, while the Nobel Prize winner gets humiliated. You paid for this. Your tax dollars funded a military operation that ended with corruption winning over democracy. Let me tell you what's likely to happen. Because this story isn't over. Rodriguez will consolidate power. She'll use U.S. recognition to legitimize her government, tell Venezuelans the Americans support her, suppress opposition. Machado will try to organize, but without U.S. support, her position is weak. The regime controls the military, controls the courts, controls the National Assembly. Machado has moral authority and a Nobel Prize, but no power. The oil will flow. Trump will get his access. American companies might get some compensation eventually, but the immediate beneficiary is the U.S. government. $2.75 billion in oil revenue. The DEA investigations will quietly go away. You don't indict someone you're doing business with. Rodriguez knows this. She cooperates. The files sit. No charges. Elections might happen eventually, maybe, but they'll be controlled by the regime. Like every Venezuelan election under Chavez and Maduro, the appearance of democracy without the substance. And the precedent is set. Future dictators learn the lesson. If you have something America wants, oil or resources or strategic position, you can cut a deal. Doesn't matter if you're corrupt, doesn't matter if you're under investigation, doesn't matter if you're running a dictatorship. Give the president what he wants. Get recognition. Stay in power. Democracy is optional. Oil is mandatory. Let me bring this all together. January 15th, 2026. 2 weeks ago, a Nobel Peace Prize winner gave Donald Trump her medal in a golden frame after spending 11 months hiding from a dictator, after risking her life for democracy, after winning the world's highest honor for her courage. And the same day, Trump's CIA director was in Caracas, meeting with a woman who served as that dictator's vice president for 8 years. A woman the DEA has investigated since 2018. A woman labeled a priority target for drug trafficking. A woman who ran the regime's operations. Trump chose her over the Nobel Prize winner because she'll give him oil, $2.75 billion worth. The CIA assessed the situation and decided regime officials are better for stability than democratic leaders. Rodriguez knows she faces potential indictment, so she cooperates, gives Trump total access to oil, gets to stay in power. Machado got nothing. No commitment to elections, no support for democracy, just took her medal and moved on. This is American foreign policy in 2026. Oil over democracy, corruption over principles, DEA targets over Nobel Prize winners. Your tax dollars funded the military operation, the CIA assessment, the diplomatic meetings, all to install a woman under DEA. Investigation and secure an oil deal. Subscribe to this channel, hit the notification bell because this story is far from over. The oil deals are happening now. The investigations continue. The Venezuelan people are watching what democracy means when it conflicts with American interests. The answer is clear. Democracy loses, oil wins, and the Nobel Prize winner who gave Trump her medal, she's learning what that medal was really worth. $2.75 billion. That's the price of principles. That's what democracy costs when oil is on the table. This is economy meet history. And the history being made is the betrayal of every value America claims to stand for.